Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Amanah Fitriah as moderator of Group 4, Introduction to Literature, which consists of 5 members. First, of course, myself, Amanah Fitriah as moderator. Second, Dhita Faradila Tunnisa as the first speaker. Third, Siti Fatimatuzzahra as the second speaker. Fourth, Eva Apriyanti as the third speaker. And lastly, Vita Fatimatuzzahra as the fourth speaker. Okay, we will explain the material about reader-oriented. Please understand and listen carefully, guys. So, enjoy the videos. Okay, we start with the first speaker, Dhita Faradila Tunnisa. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. And reader-oriented have an 8 submaterial. The first is definition of reader-oriented or reader response. The second is history of reader response. The third is character response and reader approach theory. The fourth is readers in the reader response approach. The fifth is type of research. The sixth is strengths and weaknesses. Seven is research method. And the eighth or the last is application. And next, the first is definition of reader-oriented or reader response. According Clarer, 2004, page 92nd, reader-oriented approach is called reception theory, reader response, or aesthetic response. In use, the three terms are synonymous. However, according ID, 2011, page 174 until 184, differentiates the response of the term reader approach from the reception approach. Reader's response focuses on order in a text, while the reception approach focuses more on the impact, whether the reader is happy or not, and the background of the order. In other words, the reception is the reader's considerations. And next, the second is history of reader response. This theory appeared in the late 1960 and the 1970s, but the role of the reader or audience of a literary work or performance has been recognized since classical times. Reader response theory is a reaction against formalism and objectivism. This theory is a restoration of an old and more traditional knowledge of an audience's important role to such literary or rhetorical situations. According to Virginia Woolf, Louis Rosenberg, and Wayne Burt, reader response had its elements. They said that the author of a literature text used certain ways to create certain effects to the readers or to guide their reactions. Okay, maybe enough from me, and the next material will be explained by second speaker. Times is yours.
Character responses and reader approach theory. The first is Hans Robert Jauss. The responses of a reader will certainly differ from one another. The difference in responses was called by Hans Robert Jauss as the expectation horizon of the reader. The second is Stanley Weiss. A discussion of the essence of Stanley Weiss' thought in this case is that the meaning of the text lies in the reader, who is required to take an active role in interpreting the meaning by setting aside the author's intent. Reader response criticism. The third is Wolfgang Iser. Wolfgang Iser introduced the concept of the effect, Wirkung, which is the way a work direct direction to it. In a literary work, there is uncertainty between the text and reader. there is a gap or open space, open plaque between in the file by the reader. The last is Norman Holland. Holland argued that every reader includes his fantasies in the text and modifies them with the same mechanism. Holland believed that reader motives greatly influence the way. Reader in the reader-response approach. In the reader-response approach, several terms are known a reader, the intense reader, as follows. The first is ordinary reader, namely reader in the true sense. Ordinary reader are people who read a literary work as an ordinary work, not for the purpose of research. Ideal reader, namely reader who read literary work as research material. The third is implied reader, namely the rule of reading that lies within the text itself, namely in the intellectually good for the real reader. And the last is explicit reader, namely reader who can also be called fantasy, imaginary, or immense readers.
Okay, I will continue the material. 5 types of research. Reader response research is divided into two, namely synchronous and diachronic studies. Synchronous research only engages readers for a certain period of time. Meanwhile, diachronic research engages readers throughout the age. 6. Strengths and weaknesses. 1. Synchronous research. The strengths of synchronous research are as follows. A. The responses can be determined without having to look for the literary criticism article first. B. Synchronic reception research can be carried out directly without waiting for criticism or reviews of literary works to appear. And C. Can be done on popular literary works. Meanwhile, the weaknesses are as follows. A. Because it is classified as experimental research, it can experience several obstacles during its implementation in the field, especially in selecting respondents, selecting literary texts, and determining theory. And B. It can only be used to determine readers' responses at one time period. So, when applied to literary works published several years ago, it will be difficult to distinguish between past and present responses. 2. Diachronic research. The strengths of diachronic research are as follows. A. Researchers can carry out research on intertextual results, copying, adaptation, and retranslation in the form of derivative literary works. B. Researchers can also apply other theories such as intertextual theory, comparative literary theory, philological theory, and several other supporting theories. And C. Researchers easily search for data, namely the ideal reader's response to a literary work. While the weaknesses of diachronic research are as follows. A. Generally, novice researchers will have difficulty in determining the literary work that is the object of research, because generally literary works that are known to many people have been studied for their reception by previous researchers. And B. In addition, in research on derived literary works, especially intertextual research, researchers will find it difficult to find the original text of the derived literary works.
Seven. Research methods. The steps that must be carried out in synchronous research are as follows. When determining the source of research data in the form of text to be studied and readers whose response will be a request. 2. Data collection can be done by interviewing techniques, so the researcher must first determine the research respondent. the number of population, and the sample to be used, and 3. Data processing or interview result by parsing and analyzing it in accordance with the formulation of the problem. The steps that must be taken in diachronic research are as follows. When determining the source of research data in the form of text to be studied within a certain period of time. 2. Data collection can be done by collecting materials and references that support research, either in libraries or in mass media, and processing data by parsing and analyzing it in accordance with the formulation of the problem. 8. Application. One example of the application of synchronic research in the reader response approach is a study entitled Arabic Literature Student Reception of the novel Fatathat by Abdullah Ahmad Asayaf. This research was conducted in 2008 and involved student respondents from Arabic literature at the State Islamic University, UIN Bandung.
So, the conclusion is, reader-oriented approach is called reception theory, reader response, or aesthetic response. A discussion of the essence of stainless fish, though, in this case is that the meaning of the text lies in the reader, who is required to take an active role in interpreting the meaning by setting aside our author's intent, or reader response criticism. So we have conveyed enough material. We hope you can understand it well. We apologize if there is any mistaken. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.